In a surprise announcement this morning, President Trump reversed the previous administration's order to admit transgendered individuals into the military.
On Twitter, the president reversing the Obama administration's transgender decisions on active duty military, doing it on Twitter, and now criticized by John McCain, the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, who's commenting, putting out a statement against what President Trump did on this. The Pentagon is saying that they will defer all comment to the White House, but it is a big switch, and it is the first real sense of this president getting into the social issues that have been so controversial.
This disgusting ban will weaken our military and land that it defends.
Our nation is not safer when we sanction discrimination.
Because of President Trump's announcement, America will be less safe.
The President of the United States this morning announced he is blowing 15,000 holes in our military readiness.
It's undermining, I think, our national defense.
This disgusting action endangers the lives of American service members and makes our country less safe.
Demi Lovato tweeted, "I just want to tell the transgender community that I love you and you are supported no matter what. Hashtag protect trans troops." Ellen DeGeneres said, "We should be grateful to the people who wish to serve, not turn our backs on them. Banning transgender people is hurtful, baseless, and wrong." Ava DuVernay threw it back to his first tweet and said, "I guess he doesn't know what the T stands for." Troye Sivan posted a screen grab of a financial report on the military and said, "From a report commissioned by the Pentagon last year, let's not tolerate blatant transphobia under the guise of some huge financial burden." Emily Osment tweeted, "Dear transgender Americans and all LGBTQ individuals, thank you for your bravery. You are not a burden, you are humans, and you are loved." James Corden quote retweeted Ivanka Trump's tweet regarding her support of the LGBTQ community and said, "Hey Ivanka, James here. Hope all is good. Quick question, can you call your dad and have a talk?" Caitlyn Jenner also responded to the news on Twitter after receiving a lot of backlash because she previously supported Donald Trump. She said, quote, "There are 15,000 patriotic transgender Americans in the U.S. military fighting for all of us. What happened to your promise to fight for them?" And Miley Cyrus took to Instagram and tweeted this photo with the caption, "I am heartbroken today. Please don't erase our progress. We've come so far. For our transgender friends who need someone to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out to @TransLifeline."
Let's see what's going on.
Thanks, Seth. We're here because we're upset about the president's discriminatory tweets.
And because today it might be trans people.
But tomorrow it's gay people.
And the next day it's black people.
Can you just pause it?
After that.
Boy, they're really getting their money's worth out of being not white, right? She goes, and then it's going to be gay people. And look, I'm black. They really love to virtue signal how not white male they are. Anyway, go ahead.
It's women.
And then it's immigrants.
Oh, he already came for the immigrants.
Oh, and women.
What?
And black people.
And the gays.
Oh,
wait, just pause. He came for the immigrants? He said we have a Muslim ban because we're under siege. I don't know what he did for the gays. He came for the gays. And what did he do to women? Is abortion illegal yet? Which, by the way, is not a male-female thing. 50% of women are pro-life. So, and black people, what did he do to black people? I don't understand. That's just a given now? We're going to giggle about it? All right, go ahead.
President Trump, you just requested a $600 billion military budget. You think you can't afford health care for trans people? The military spends $41 million a year on Viagra. Viagra. What are you guys doing?
Can you just pause it?
The enemy?
I think they spend money on... That's enough, by the way. I don't want to watch that anymore. I think they're spending money on Viagra because a guy's having trouble getting it up when he fucks his wife after being away at combat, because every time he gets naked, he imagines his friend's head blown off.
Body moving, 81 sound and the sound so soothing. Body moving, we be getting down and you know what push through it. Body moving, 81 sound and the sound so soothing. Body moving, we be getting down and you know what push through it.
The power of Viagra.
This is the same exact argument they used. They said white men would not want to take orders from a black person. They wouldn't want to take it from a whack that was serving, that black people couldn't do. It's the same BS.
Yeah, I know.
The bottom line. And so none of this, I can't accept, unless you tell me this person, I don't feel this person can defend me while I'm fighting.
Right.
That's one thing.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're saying, this guy next to me, I don't think he's the soldier I need him to be.
But this
right.
is like,
you
this
see
is
it.
like covering
argument, though, isn't it?
Argument. Yeah, it's an argument
This
about
is like covering women to remove a male urge. This is removing things to say you're uncomfortable. People need to get comfortable and deal with it. That's not what you're there
Get
for.
over
I think you mentioned about cost. The Department of Defense has these medical standards, and they say that the person needs to be free of medical conditions that would require excessive time lost from duty for necessary treatment or hospitalization. So they're saying this isn't the same thing as a gay person or a lesbian serving, because this involves surgeries and expenses that then fall to taxpayers.
All these people who are serving. I understand this statement, and what I will say to that statement is folks are already serving, been serving, as the gender they've chosen to be.
Yeah.
So basically, it's already been happening. People have been in combat and fighting, going to tours and tours and tours.
Only 250 life. It should be not just education, but health care you get. If you're willing to do this,
well, we'll get back to that, because, you know, we don't treat our vets the way as well as we should.
So I understand why people don't like this, but to not like it and to claim that it makes our country less safe are two different things. How does this make our country less safe?
Well, how about SEAL Team 6?
Okay.
I think you'd agree they make our country more safe. So Kristen Beck, a member of SEAL Team 6, she's a transgender woman, 7 combat tours, earned the Bronze Star with Valor and a Purple Heart. She's done a hell of a lot more for our country than you and I ever will. And she made our country safer. That's the person we're going to remove from military service.
I don't think she served as a transgender SEAL, though.
No, but there are thousands of transgender service members serving honorably and meeting the tests, the high tests that the military expects of its service members. We should absolutely use the standard the president started with, which is keeping our country safe. And part of keeping our country safe is keeping good people in the military. These are good people.
Right. Well, transgenders have never been allowed to serve openly and to have their transitions paid for by the U.S. government. This is something that began in a gradual way with the Obama administration. This country's been around for almost 250 years, winning a bunch of wars. That's not a slight on any specific person. I'm merely skeptical at why this makes our country less safe. I don't actually think that you can show that. I think you're just mad about it, and you're using our national security to make your point.
Well, look, there are thousands of people serving honorably. We won a bunch of wars before we integrated the armed services with African Americans, and we won a bunch of wars without women serving. But we have an enormous number of talented, diverse people serving. We wouldn't believe we were more safe because we excluded whole groups of Americans. And look, the point is that right now, thousands of transgender service members are serving with distinction, and there's not a reason on earth that you would kick them out of the military except for prejudice, and that's wrong.
That's just, that's just a silly thing to say. I mean, this is a legitimate debate, and for you to say anyone who doesn't agree with you is a bigot. I mean, there's a massive call. Wait, hold on, slow down.
Well, I didn't say that,
yes,
but
you did.
I said that the reason would be prejudice.
You said the only reason was prejudice.
Right.
In other words, if you disagree with me, being a holy man, you're a bad person.
You know, you're really beautiful. And a woman that looks like that has to have her own special scent.
Oh, thank you. Maybe you could tell me what you think of this scent.
As of now, progressives are trying to use this as a tactic by saying that Trump is anti-LGBT. I don't see that as the case whatsoever. Here's just how I see it. The military is a very stressful environment. Combat is a very stressful environment. 2017, the most recent article published by the American Psychiatric Association has stipulated that gender dysphoria is still qualified as a psychological disorder. A psychological disorder bans you from any type of military service, from depression, anxiety, things such as that. A whole slew of things are involved in this. In the transgender community, there's a 61% suicide rate. Now, a lot of that can also be attributed to bullying and the way that society treats them, understandably so. I don't see this as being discriminatory in any way, shape, or form. There has to be a line drawn in the sand and a standard enforced that cannot be crossed by any means. The military is not a social experiment. For a very small demographic of people that want to enlist, you cannot change the course of how the entire organization works. Also, let's not forget to mention the fact that gender dysphoria first has to be diagnosed within the service member. They have to go through a series with their healthcare provider, the commander, and the person themselves wanting to go through the operation. This is all going to be paid for by the military. The actual sex change operation, the hormone replacement therapy, all of that is funded through the military, ultimately leading back down to guess who pays for it. There you go. I have to disagree with that fact as well. This in no way says that transgenders can't go out there and live their lives according to how they want. It simply says that, you know, if you are diagnosed with this, you are not allowed to serve in the military. Guess what? Colorblindness disqualifies you from the military. Previous history of different psychological issues, physical ailments, things like that disqualify you from serving the military. Are we allowed to say they're discriminatory towards colorblind people? Not at all. But people are going to try and spin this against Trump. They're going to try and spin this in any way they can to say that Trump is anti-homosexual, he's anti-gay, he's whatever you want to call it. Clearly not the case. I have to support him on this one.
According to the Politico article today, GOP leaders are opposing both not having taxpayers fund transgender operations for members of the military, and they are opposing any money for the wall. So in order to get the funding through for the wall, it was being held up by conservative, or I would have thought, you know, sane humans in the Senate who don't want taxpayers like you and me paying for these lengthy transgender operations, years of therapy. I mean, for Pete's sake, you can't get into the military. You used to not be able to get into the military. Who knows now? If you had asthma, psoriasis, attention deficit disorder, but we're going to bring in people with an extremely peculiar and rare mental illness. Great, and have the taxpayers pay for it. But both Trump's defense secretary and, as you say now, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but they're insisting that taxpayers fund transgender operations for people with a mental problem? Oh, come on. We're not going to have any ground wars. Knock this nonsense off. Trump gets to go out against absurd political correctness and get funding for his wall.